on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome once again into our Saturday Night Live program. My name is Rick Farron here in Massachusetts at the control panel, and we're going to be bringing Anne Marie. She has a program called Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. Anne Marie is going to be coming on in just a couple of seconds, but friends, I want you all to stay tuned here tonight. We've got some really good programming coming up, and at 9:30, you want to make sure you listen to the program tonight. We have a man named Fritz Springmeier. He wrote the book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He's coming on tonight to talk about the Watchtower connections with the Illuminati. But even if you don't believe all of that, he's going to talk about the Watchtower's early history and some things you never heard of. And he's going to tell us something tonight that just rocked my boat. He's going to tell us tonight that the Watchtower right now is deliberately going out of business. They're planning on downsizing more than you would think. He's going to tell us why. So anyways, we got Anne Marie coming up. She's got quite a program tonight as well. And she's going to be talking about a lot of things. I know that she loves to have people call into a program. So why don't you do your best to call into the program tonight and talk with Anne Marie. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hello, my brother. How are you doing this Six Screen Saturday?
Well, it's a great night up here. It's a little damp and but it's good. We're inside here. We got a good warm studio, and we got some great things going on, Anne Marie, some wonderful things going on.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. So, God, I can't wait for the show about the Watchtower, because I heard that Jordan Maxwell, before he died, did an interview in 2019, and I did not know that Jordan Maxwell had actually been a Jehovah's Witness when he was young. And he's a world-renowned researcher, as you know, and he said in that interview in 2019 that the Watchtower was collapsing within itself, that it was falling apart at the seams. And he said that he was concerned for all of the Jehovah's Witnesses who would have to be faced with suddenly being left with what happened. So anyway, this is the Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower show. I want to welcome everyone in. Today is the 25th of March, 2023, and all of us who have become awake in the Watchtower from the Watchtower spell, from the cult programming, and who now know the Watchtower for what it is. We're all together, and we get to come here together in live time and real time, as Rick says, because of what Rick does for us every single week. Today I wanted to two things that Rick thought of. One thing he thought of was weddings. You know how if you've been to a regular, normal wedding, I don't want to say worldly wedding, because a wedding is a wedding. And all weddings are different, but they're still supposed to be about the bride and the groom and what the bride and the groom want. And all of their friends and family have come together to help the wedding and the reception be according to what the bride and groom want. But it's a different story when it comes to having a wedding in the cult of the Watchtower. Does it spark anybody's memory of a wedding or your wedding, or any thoughts about the subject, Star 6?
Well, I'll be the icebreaker, Anne Marie, until we can get people on a good footing here and they can come in and talk. But I've been to many witness weddings. Some of them pretty good. Some of them really bad. And I have to tell you that one of them, it really was unbelievable. It was my book study conductor, I was living in Florida at the time, and he was pretty well-to-do, and he had a son. The son's name was Kenny, Brother Kenny, and Kenny was reaching out to be a ministerial servant. Wasn't one yet, but he was going to be one soon because his dad was an elder. But Kenny was marrying this really attractive young lady. Her name was Christine, and she was a Jehovah's Witness as well. And so, this was the first wedding in Kenny's family. And so they really wanted to make a big, big thing out of it. So they rented this really expensive hotel in Tampa, Florida, and they had it all catered. They were saying, oh, we're going to have lobster and steak and hors d'oeuvres and all the good things you could ever imagine. So we got an invitation, my former wife and I, and boy, we were looking so forward to the wedding. I mean, I didn't eat all day because the way they were building this up, like, wow, where do you come to the wedding, Rick? You're going to have lobster. You're going to have everything you ever thought of: steak, prime rib. Geez, I was getting all excited. I didn't eat anything all day. Either did my former wife. So also we went with another couple, and they didn't either. They said, we've been waiting for this big meal everybody's talking about. So we got to the hotel, and Anne Marie, there was so many people, and I don't think they were even invited. And that's what the witnesses do, many of them. They're not even invited, and they go to the reception anyways. So we got there, and I'm saying, my goodness, look at all the people in line. I'm saying, boy, it's just going to take us like even 10 minutes just to get through the line, just to get into the hotel. I mean, it looked like a, grand opening of a movie or something. And there's so many witnesses there. I didn't even know most of them, but they were all Jehovah's Witnesses from different congregations. So anyways, we eventually get in there, and, it's time for the buffet, but the first ones in were able to go to the buffet first. So my wife and I and the couple I was with were waiting to get up there. When we get up there was no food left. Seriously. Everything was gone. There wasn't anything. A couple of olives and a couple of cheese and crackers. That was about it. So, I mean, we were so disappointed. We were so hungry. And, there was really nobody to say, oh, we're awful sorry. We got more food coming, or there was really no explanation. So we couldn't stay. I was so hungry. I would have eaten a cow at the time if he was there, believe me. So we left and went to a restaurant, said, forget that. It was a very bad wedding. But I'm not saying all witness weddings were, but very badly organized. And as you know, back around then, that would have been in the 90s, early 90s, they came out with this idea that it'd be good if you got a wedding organizer. If you had a brother kind of sit down with you and help you plan the wedding. And so they had, from what I can remember, an organizer, but boy, it certainly wasn't organized. Somebody missed the boat on that one. So that's all I have to say about that wedding. Unbelievable, Anne-Marie.
Wow, that's really sad. It's really strange how many, I hate to sound mean, but this is something that is not unusual. A story that illuminates how childish, immature, and selfish that some of these Watchtowerites can be. And you're right. I mean, anybody that has a big wedding in their mind that they want to do, is they know they need a wedding organizer and a wedding planner. There's someone to have, some control. And that's really sad, because when you're waiting for food, your stomach is getting all ready for it. And, when you have a big wedding, you're not supposed to have a buffet. You're supposed to have the people serve so that there's control over the food. But I was thinking more about the wedding itself, how different the actual wedding ceremony is at the Kingdom Hall. I mean, I've only been to ones at Kingdom Hall, and it's really sad. Does anybody want to comment before I go off on my schmeal? Anybody have anything to say about what Rick related? How off the wall that reception was and how disappointing. Anybody have any thoughts or a story they'd like to share? Star 6.
I have a story that I'd like to share.
Well, I'm listening.
Hello, my name is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I'm from Boston. Hi, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. And
welcome.
I listened to Jehovah's Witnesses for a period of time. I was disfellowshipped and I turned around and I tried to make it back into the witnesses, but they would have nothing to do with me. They shunned me, all of them. And at that point in time of my life, I had just come back from Vietnam. I was in the Marines, and I was a warlock at that period of time. And on the dark side, I had a lot of power. I could do whatever I wanted to, but I decided to put everything off to the side and try the spiritual side. And I thought that being a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses would be the light which I needed to help my life. And at that point in time, I finally decided that I'm going to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, which I did, okay? And my lifetime went on from that period of time. Everything was very difficult for me. And I found that Satan was fighting against me very, very hard in everything I did. And just recently, I have a friend, Richard Borghi, who is a sergeant in the Marine Corps, who is like my brother, and his wife, Connie. I told him of my difficulties and what was going on in my lifetime, and they gave me instruments of armor against Satan from the Bible, which helped me greatly. And at this point in my lifetime, if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would be here. And it was so strong. They were both, Richard Borghi was also a member of Jehovah's Witnesses and disfellowshipped. And he and I were very close. We've been close for over 30, almost 40 years now. And he's very knowledgeable in the truth as far as the Bible itself. And Connie, I call her my sister because of the fact that she's so intelligent and helped me so much, and probably saved my life with the intel that she gave me from the Bible. That in fact I was able to continue my life with the blood of Jesus Christ. And under these conditions, I find myself being able to do what I couldn't do before. When 2 times they prayed over me under a difficult situation, there was so much turmoil going on, and when they prayed over me, everything completely stopped, and there was a complete silence. It's like the silence that God talks about that man can't understand. It happened twice when they prayed. And I just wanted to share that with you because I realize now that prayer and the blood of Jesus Christ is so important to all of us and what it can do and how powerful it actually is. And I just wanted to share the fact that people out there that are going through turmoil and having a hard time, if they pray in the blood of Jesus Christ, it is so powerful that it can change your lives completely. I just want to share that.
Well, I appreciate your coming on to share that, Mark, and I'm really happy to hear that Dick and Constance have been such a help and a support to you. I do believe that whatever we need in our spiritual walk, that God and the angels will guide us, and we're there to help each other. So is there anything else you wanted to add, or because we were...
That's pretty much what I wanted to tell you. The fact is that I didn't realize how powerful prayer is, and I do now. And Dick and Connie, they just kind of opened up the whole everything by praying that, and showing me the prayer, the way they pray is so powerful that it can neutralize anything that Satan is doing against you. All right, and they have a way. They have a way of doing that that is so amazing. It just was amazing. I had to share that.
Well, I really appreciate that, and thank you so much. May I ask how long you were a member of the Watchtower organization?
I had come back from Vietnam with the Marines back in the 70s, and I was with Jehovah's Witnesses for probably a year, and the situation, it was a situation that took place, and they got disfellowship. So.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah,
at least you didn't wait your whole life. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's pretty rotten.
I was glad to leave them completely, and Dick was there at the time, and he and I are just friends, and I have nothing to do with it, or Jehovah's Witnesses at all. Anyway.
Yeah, they can be pretty hot, warm, loving, smile like they're your best friend and they love you, and they can turn cold in an instant.
They were so cold. They were so cold. I just showed everybody, at that period of time, I left them. So, I don't recommend them to anybody because of the fact that, like you say, they can be very warm, but hard times they can be so cold, and they turn me up completely.
I'm so sorry you went through that. I know how really traumatic and what a shock it is to find out that your brothers and sisters now look at you like you're worse than garbage. It's horrible. Yeah. Okay, is there anything else you wanted to add, Mark?
No, I just enjoyed talking tonight, and I just want to share the most important thing that I find outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses is prayer. Prayer, in the name of Jesus Christ, under any circumstance that anybody has, okay? If you pray in the blood of Jesus Christ, no matter what it is, it goes right to God Almighty. And
maybe you might like to, Mark, I was just thinking maybe you might like to call in Six Screens tomorrow. We have Six Screens Sunday every other week, and that's where we discuss spiritual things like the blood of Christ and Jesus and your spiritual walk. And if you'd like to, come on and share your thoughts or your experience, I want you to feel free to call in tomorrow. Generally much earlier in the day. I don't know, maybe
that would be wonderful, and I probably will. I had a situation that just took place where I almost lost my life, and I had gone to the hospital for half a month, and it was very close to sepsis in my blood. And they were talking about amputating my legs. And I had Dick and Connie, they prayed for me, and I was able to survive. So
that is so amazing.
I contribute my well-being to their prayers, and they're wonderful people. And I call Connie my sister, and when I pray, I say, Satan, I cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ, and don't let me get my sister, Connie, because
she is wonderful. Yeah.
Isn't she wonderful?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes,
so wonderful.
Is, absolutely. She is.
Yeah.
Very pure soul, very loving.
What a wonderful person
Very
she is,
cool.
and Dick,
Yeah.
and Dick too. They're both wonderful people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you for
Yeah.
listening to me tonight. I appreciate it, and
No, worries.
God bless everybody.
Well, God bless
Hi, Anne-Marie.
you, and yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Eric, so much. I hope you call in tomorrow, maybe around 9 or so Pacific time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was at 1
Tomorrow.
o'clock. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold
Can I
on.
just leave a quick experience about the wedding topic that you're talking about, because I have a story?
I'm glad. Can you hold that thought just a second?
No
Let
problem.
Rick give Eric the right one moment here. I do want to hear your story. Rick, are you able? I don't even know where Eric's at. Oh, he's always Eastern time. Okay.
Well, I think you're getting a little confused, Anne-Marie. I think you're getting a little confused. That was Mark you were talking
Yeah.
to that has the prayer from Massachusetts, but Eric's coming in.
Yeah, I was trying to. I know. Mark wanted to know what time tomorrow starts, Spiritual Sunday.
Well, it would
And I
start.
don't know what time.
Well, it actually starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow our time, Boston.
Okay, Eastern time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yep.
so much.
Yep.
Thank you. Hope to hear from you, Mark. Eric, go ahead. Thank you so much for waiting, dear. What's your story?
Oh, sorry. I don't want to hog the show at all, but I just thought it was a funny. Both my wife and I need to tell this story because it's kind of. We went to a wedding, and it was a Jehovah's Witness wedding, and they must have did something that they shouldn't have because they weren't allowed to have it in the Kingdom Hall. You know what I mean? So they had their wedding at their parents' house, and it was kind of ghetto, cheesy, and there was no food, absolutely no food, and there was tons of booze, so much booze they could fill to the heavens. There was bottles of wines, there was spiked punch. We got so out of our minds that even the older sisters got drunk and they weren't able to drive home, and brothers had to bring them home. And I'm talking about 70 and 80-year-olds getting smashed. No food. No food to see. And my buddy and I, we were in a party mood, and we went to my house and we got a little bottle of vodka and had a couple shots, and I threw one of the little, what do you call it, a nip? We threw it into to my buddies who got married, his uncle's, who was the presiding overseer. I think that's changed now. I forget what it's called. But he was the presiding overseer at the time, and I put the empty bottle in his mailbox, and they had a freak out. They banned alcohol at all social events from this congregation. We used to there was a graduation party, and all the old timers and myself included, the cool people were drinking alcohol out of soda cans and stuff.
Oh my!
But I thought I would share how ridiculous.
Eric, that is crazy. Who in the world heard of having a gathering for a wedding and celebration, obviously reception, with no food but plenty of booze?
I should be fair. There were appetizers, but it was not food. It was maybe some stuffed quahogs or something, but there was no food. There was no meal. No one got. And it's a Friday night, and we're all starving. We all worked the whole week.
That is crazy. That's not ghetto. That's way below ghetto, because even in the ghetto, everybody knows that there will be food. It might not be the best, but there will be plenty of mac and cheese and something, sandwiches, whatever. I've never heard of any.
It was the talk of the town. We were all like, "Where's the food?" Because in New England, in Providence, Rhode Island, we always had like my wedding with my wife and I. It was my mother took over, and it was basically her wedding. But it was everybody ate and had plenty of food, and it was a proper wedding in that respect.
Well, thank God for Mama.
Well, she's not that good of a person. She was selfish.
Well, sounds like she was selfish in a good way.
Yeah, at least we got to have a wedding, that wedding that I went to with those guys, and then it shapes the attitude of alcohol And I just thought, this is so weird. Like now, like alcohol was never really touched, but now, oh, you can't have it in social events? Like, that's cult.
I know. They always go extremes. But
and it's their fault why everyone got drunk. If old sisters are getting drunk, there's a problem. You know, it's not you, it's not us, it's you guys. You gave us a situation that's like a machine gun getting it to like a chimp.
That's a good analogy. That's a very good analogy. So I'm curious, what happened? I mean, usually when something like that happens, you know, people are called into the back room later on in the week, or there's a special needs talk, or there's a lot of stern talking to. Anything happen like that, Eric?
Yeah, there was a special needs talk about alcohol, and nobody personally got pinched, but some people knew that I put the bottle in the.
Well,
I don't know. We were all feeling it. My wife got drunk that night, like way too drunk, and we just, there was so much booze. I've never seen so much booze and no food. It's like, wow.
That is unfortunate. I'm still back at the buffet table. If you all get a sliced ham that's already sliced, and you get a bucket of chicken, and you put those on platters on your table, everybody else is going to bring cakes and salads and little stuff, and then you can have a drink because you've had a meal.
Wow, good idea, Pixie. Good idea.
Yeah, that's how Pixie entertains, and it's not a lot of work, and you can make your cake ahead if you want homemade cake, but you know people bring goodies all the time. But get that sliced ham and that bucket of chicken so that protein's on there, and then people won't be sloshed drunk on an empty stomach.
Yeah,
amen.
I think it's all about. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said amen.
Oh, now it just seems like, you know, have a brain in your head and think ahead, be organized, and, you know, providing food is not that difficult if you just put your mind to it. There's baked ziti, mac and cheese, you know, the chicken, few casserole, salad, some drinks. My goodness. Whatever. But anyway, I was really curious about actual wedding ceremonies because I only went to two that really stuck in my mind as pitiful and sad.
They have an outline for it. They have to follow the script of the outline.
Yeah. That's part of the sadness. I always thought it was weird that, you know, in a lot of halls that I've been to, there's no center aisle. They're not, it's like you can't do the wedding march like in a regular wedding if you want. You can't choose your own music. This is just the last I remember. You're not supposed to have your own vows or unless they're approved by the elder. And I just remember this one young sister. She had been married and then her husband died. She had two little boys and she met this beautiful young brother. He was a real sweetheart, but they were pioneering and I could not figure out why. My gift to them was to photograph the wedding. I shot the whole wedding. I paid for all the film, paid for all the development, paid to, you know, put it all in a beautiful wedding album. So I'm shooting, you know, this poor girl getting ready for her wedding. She had gone out that day, her wedding day, and gotten her hours in. And now she's in the bathroom, which I think is disgusting that the Kingdom halls that I've ever seen didn't have a special room for these things, or why couldn't she get dressed in a cleaner place? It was disgusting. Anyway, she's getting out of her clothes that she wore in service, and her feet are dirty, sweaty, dirty, and actually you could tell they were dirty. And she's putting on her wedding high heels. And I'm thinking, nobody should be that rushed. You can't get a pedicure, get a shower, do your hair. She was actually having to rush. And the same thing for the poor guy she was marrying. He had to get in his hours. It was all about, oh, we have to put you over first. It's your wedding day, dude. What, are you kidding me? And I always thought that was so sad to me. Anybody else have one?
But you know, that goes back to the boundaries and self-care thing.
Now, this lady was stressed for time. She had no time. She had two little boys. She was pioneering, and she had a part-time job. No time to plan a wedding. Somebody had put together a reception, but it was just seeing those dirty. It was like she had walked barefoot through the mud, but it was nasty. And I thought, she didn't even feel like she had time to get paper towels and some water and soap. I mean, it was really sad. Because she was that straight for time. And it just, I've never seen it. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, honey. The story was told to me, so it didn't happen to me directly. But at one time, they didn't want you to have kids, and then they didn't want you to get married. And so at one time, when a sister got married, it was almost humiliating. And she said it was the custom, if you did get married, you had to show up late for your wedding. You were so known to be late, because you weren't supposed to be rushing to get married. You would be late to the ceremony, because the Watchtower did not promote marriage.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Susan, are you kidding me?
No, and she was marrying a Bethelite, and at that time Bethel was 10 years. It wasn't 1 year or 4 years, it was 10 years. So she waited for this brother for 10 years. They finally got married, and she said she had to show up late for a wedding to show deference to the organization that, she was, because people didn't get married. She pioneered or went to Bethel, and that was your life.
My God, Susan, I thought I had heard everything. That is horrible. That is so horrible. And it wasn't until Brother Morton wanted to get married. Remember when they wouldn't let Bethelites get married at all? And if you were married, you couldn't go to Bethel?
That's right.
How did we accept having our thoughts managed, our brains taken over, our personalities and talents squashed? You're told who to marry, who you can be friends with, how to dress, what kind of job you can have, what you can eat, what kind of doctor you can go to. You have to bleed to death. If you're bleeding to death, oh, well, gee, or else you're unfaithful. I mean, is there any area that wasn't monitored and controlled and directed by the organization? It's almost like you had to have permission and direction for everything.
Yes, permission is a good word. You hit the nail on the head, Anne-Marie. We needed permission to do anything by the Watchtower back then. And as time went on, they stepped into the bedroom besides that. So they control your mind. They want to control your mind. It's no accident. And tonight, Fritz Springmeier, you'll hear more on their brain control. He wrote 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. And Russell is one of the 13 names of the Illuminati. And you'll find out what that means.
Yeah, I believe it, because I know a lot of people try to say that Russell wasn't a Mason. And I'm like, oh my God. My grandparents were heavy duty into the Masons. And I had a friend who was really into the Masons, the Eastern Star. And I asked her to, she was friends and she had connections with higher ups in the Mason group she was with. And I asked her to find out if she could check, records or something to find my grandparents' name. I told them their names, their birthdates, where they lived when they were a member. And she came back and told me 2 weeks later, there was no record. Nobody could find anything. And I know they were Masons. So when people say, oh, there's no record, you can't prove Russell was a Mason. Of course he was. Everything he did was about the Masons. And how about Brooklyn being the center of crime, the center of the mafia, the 5 mob families? Why in the world would they do that? I mean, oh my God. And when we look back on our lives, how we were controlled, we might be low on the totem pole and we might not know a lot of the big stuff, but thank God we learn. When we come to the 6 screens and listen enough, we find out a lot of stuff, especially with JW World News, thank God for Rick and you. But when you start digging, oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. Anything else you wanted to add to anything about weddings? I know you were helpful with a lot of people getting married and doing other things that involved a lot of work, Susan, because you were always helpful.
Oh, it was almost expected that I gave the bridal shower. Witnesses, they lack a certain, how do I want to put it? They don't know decorum. I'll put it that way. There's a certain decorum that we have. They don't know how to behave during a wedding. You know, they all come and they want to go for the food. There were 200 extra people that showed up at my wedding. 200, and they said they wouldn't sit down to dinner until my dad coughed up big cash, thousands of dollars. So this is my first wedding, not your best. But yeah, and he goes, I don't know all these people. Who are all these people? What a witness is that? It's not a witness, but witnesses don't lack the decorum, the necessary social skills to know what's acceptable and what's not. They're not taught that at all. So
no, they're not. At a normal wedding. Go ahead. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
I can't wait to hear other people's stories too. I'm sure they've got a few.
Well, I hope so. I'm just glad you brought up the word decorum. I couldn't think of how to describe what I have seen with witnesses as opposed to, and I have to say the word, normal people who are raised that this is how you behave. I have seen punks and drug dealers and gangbangers know how to behave when it's about a wedding and a reception. They comb their hair, they take a shower, they put on a nice suit or a nice dress, and they know how to dance and they know how to have manners. It's amazing, but they know. Anybody else want to comment? Yeah, hello? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, dear.
Hi, honey, it's Constance, and I just wanted to say, hi, sweetheart. Hi, Susan. I just wanted to say, back in the day, I was very close to a sister whose parents were in the Spanish congregation. My friend Carmen was in the English congregation, but her parents were in the Spanish congregation in our city. And Carmen had a brother named Luis, and he was getting married. It was his first marriage. And he was getting married to a sister. I don't remember if it was her first or second marriage, but anyway, they were very much in love. And I remember Carmen telling me that her future sister-in-law was so excited, and she went out and was planning to have a beautiful wedding gown, and they were going to get married in the Kingdom Hall and everything. And apparently, word got back to the brothers, to the elders, that she was making a big to-do. You know, probably was her first wedding and she wanted something really beautiful. And the brothers had literally spoken to her to say, oh, no. You cannot be having such a big, beautiful wedding gown because the focus of the wedding is not really so much on you and your future husband, but it's, your covenant with Jehovah God and others are going to be seeing this. So the glory has to be going to Jehovah, not really to the two of you. And my friend Carmen was shocked, and she told me this story. And I said, well, how did your future sister-in-law take it? She said, oh, my gosh, she was so offended. She was so offended because, in the Latino community, weddings are a huge deal. They're really, really huge. And it was like the elders were just raining on her parade. So it's like, no, you can't have such a big, elaborate wedding gown. No, you got to tone it down and make it something really, really simple. And Anne Marie, I'll never forget that. It was like before she even walked down the aisle, they had already just basically, and I look at it like a curse to her wedding. They took control. They took away her very special day, and she was really, really upset. They did get married, but that's Watchtower. It's all about controlling them, everything that you do. So thank you, my dear.
Oh, Constance, thank you so much for sharing that. That is heartbreaking. That is absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, however you get married, whenever you get married, it's supposed to be a time of joy and celebration. And you're supposed to be able to get married how you want to get married. How dare those uptight, stick up their behinds elders do that to her? That's just terrible.
Yeah, hello, Anne Marie.
Hi, go ahead, dear.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking my call there. I've been listening to everything there with interest. I'm sorry the conversation couldn't be more, pleasant than it is, but when we go and look at weddings, at all of these religions and all that, all they are is an excuse, to get together and chow down and booze it up. Just like wedding anniversaries, just like Christmas, just like Easter, birthday parties, whatnot, what have you. And that's the same thing in just about all the religions and so forth. I know a friend of mine one time used to go to a wedding now and then, and well, he's passed away right now, but and he said that he went to a wedding back in the 50s. And back then they had some bottled beer and they had it in tubs. And of course they had blocks of ice that was in the middle that would keep it cold and everything like that. He said he was out and about and so forth. And all of a sudden he heard somebody holler and he looked back, this one woman, about 300 pounds, she fell in that tub of ice right on top of the ice and so forth. Fortunately, she didn't hurt herself. Fortunately, she didn't break any glass and so forth. And he was one of them that had to help her get up and get out of there again and so forth. So he said, boy, I'll never go to another wedding again. So, yeah, that's the reason I myself don't go to any weddings whatsoever and haven't. Once in a while I attended a wedding, and I probably was because I drove somebody there. But I don't care for weddings myself for that reason, or anniversaries, or none of it, because all it is a big booze party, a big chow down party. And the Watchtower Society is no different, because I heard similar stories of the Watchtower Society too, that they just booze it up and chow down at their weddings as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your sharing that. But personally, in my experience, the only weddings where I felt uncomfortable about things that I saw and heard were only at Jehovah's Witness weddings and receptions. The story that Rick related about all of these people and just eating up all the food and all those people that didn't get to eat anything, and what Susan said about 200 people just showing up uninvited to her reception, and her poor father, who probably paid for a lot of the expense of her wedding and reception, had to come up with more money and to cover people that just showed up. In the regular world, in my experience, any experience I've ever heard of people that I know in my family, it's just not done. Even if it's a buffet at the reception, you're very cognizant of all the other people that have yet to be served, and you don't take that much because everybody's thinking, oh, there's so many more, we shouldn't take too much. I've seen it over and over. I have never seen such selfish, immature behavior in my life as it has been at the wedding. Any wedding I ever saw with that behavior, as Susan said, that incredible lack of decorum, it's at a witness function.
Yeah, that is horrible what happened over there that time and so forth. Well, here's a little bit of humor for you right now. Do you know what food is it that you eat, and you eat it only once, but you regret it the rest of your life?
I am at a loss.
Wedding cake.
Oh, come on, that's mean.
Yeah.
That's mean. Well, thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate you sharing. And
hi, Anne-Marie.
Okay, we'll keep listening here.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, dear.
Hi. I have some weddings I would like to share. It's not much, but
go ahead.
I'm doing good. My sister was once a bride, actually twice, to two of her friends, and one of them eventually stopped going to the meetings and stopped being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I can remember her friend's wedding was at the Cape Coral Community Yacht Club in 2003, and not much going on. It was pretty well balanced, But you're right. Weddings can be going out of control, and we would often. Yeah, my last wedding was 2016, and it was a sign language, and I didn't want to go in. It was at the same time, was at the sign language meeting afterwards. It was the same day. We had just gotten back from the funeral of another JW sister up in Cape Coral Ridge Cemetery funeral home, and we got back to the sign language meeting, and after that, people, even Bethelites, were coming down to attend that wedding of Ben Stevens and his wife Chiyuki. That's all I can remember in weddings and stuff.
Do you remember anything that seemed like an embarrassment or like shouldn't have happened or was selfish or immature or too much of this or not enough of that? I'm not really getting anything that you're pointing out to us. No, honey, don't be sorry. I'm just trying to picture what you're trying to relate. Like, did you see behavior that you didn't think was proper? Or I'm just trying to get a picture of what you're talking about. You know, like what happened.
It was pretty well supervised, pretty well managed most of the time. But who I danced with, my family got on my case about married women and all of that, and dancing with married women and at social gatherings, because I get corrected a lot on that. And you know how I feel.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, you're supposed to be more relaxed. There's nothing wrong with dancing with a married man or a married woman in my mind. I mean, unless you're doing something wrong. Good heavens.
Yeah,
I think
that's the other thing.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's the other thing.
What's the other thing?
About the inappropriate behavior.
Okay, well, let's not get into that again, guys, please. But Guy, I'm going to ask your opinion on this. You've been to a couple of weddings, maybe more than two, in the Watchtower. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's mostly JW related. It's kind of local. The places of weddings aren't such a big deal per se. Only a couple of them were not in Kingdom Halls.
So I wanted to ask you a question. When you look back on your experience in going to witness weddings, wherever they were held, did you ever get a sense at any of these weddings that people like sisters or brothers, some of them were just watching others just with a critical eye, just ready to criticize this or criticize that? Did you ever get that feeling?
I don't.
That was quite a complicated question. You never got that? Come on, you said that you've been corrected and talked to. How about, did you ever notice that other people were doing that? You know what I mean? Like there's sometimes sisters or certain brothers or elders that feel like it's their duty to sit there and critique other people, how they talk, how they dress, they laugh too loud, they dance too hard, they were too close, they were too far away, their dress was too short, their hair was too long. You know what I mean? Did you ever experience that kind of thing?
Actually,
Go ahead.
It was more or less abstaining from perfume when we give out invitations to social gatherings because of health reasons, because I'm allergic to perfume and cologne. But except for that, we are pretty well monitored and well supervised. Nothing too brazen or crazy. Nothing too, not to my memory, not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, thank you. That wasn't my question, but that's okay. I really, you know what? I really appreciate your coming on, Guy. I missed you the last few weeks, and I was wondering how you were doing, and here you are. So thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. You're such a kind lady.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but thank you. Thank you, Guy. You're very sweet. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any comments on what Guy was saying? Yeah, go ahead, dear. Hi, Thomas. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, Thomas, yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
No. It's Ken. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I do that. Don't
you
pay
want,
attention to me.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment in addition, what I had here, that when we talk about weddings, anniversaries, birthday parties, get-togethers, family reunions, I don't care what it was, there should be a time of joy, and it should be a time of happiness, and so forth, and we should accommodate the people so they could enjoy themselves. It should not be a time of somebody getting together and gossiping about somebody else, and then or getting together and chowing down, and because everything's free, and then boozing it up and everything like that. There should be some, there should be some organization and some pleasure, with these, and some, happiness, to get together and so forth. And it should not be a miserable, going through hell situation like some of these weddings they were talking about on there right now. So it's really outrageous that a society that talks about being religious and peace and goodwill to men and everything like that and so forth, engage in such practices. It's really outrageous. So hopefully that'll change one of these days, and hopefully that people that do organize like weddings and everything like that are listening to us and so forth will do it in a conscientious and a positive manner and not a negative manner. Now, I don't care if somebody has drink. I don't care if they have alcohol or whatnot, but I don't favor somebody just getting drunk in there. Okay, you can have a drink or two, whatever it is, but I mean, don't go boozing it up or anything like that, or fall into a tub of beer, whatever it is,
Yeah, personally, I don't ever remember alcohol being served at weddings per se. That may have been from other social gatherings, but other than that, they're pretty good about being strict on providing alcohol. I don't ever remember seeing alcohol being offered and served.
Hello, Anne Marie.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Ken. Go ahead, dear.
Hi, I was thinking too, to show that sometimes Jehovah's Witnesses can be immature, they're not very social creatures, is they institute, which was mentioned before, the Master of the Feast. There's that big Watchtower was awake, I can't remember. Do you remember that? They instituted the Master of the Feast.
Oh, that's like a way back in my way before time memory.
Okay, no, well that's what happened shortly after my first wedding. They instituted the Master of the Feast, and I could see why, because things can get out of hand very easily. And of course, the Watchtower is more control. So of course, they just love to have control of what you eat, what you drink, what songs you have, who comes in, who not, because it's like as we mentioned, some weddings can get out of control, and of course that's because of alcohol. And if anyone has an open bar, you can expect problems with alcohol. That no matter what wedding you have, if you have an open bar, there's going to be problems. So that's why they instituted the Master of the Feast. I don't know if anybody remembers that term or not, or if they still have it. I don't know.
What did? Go ahead.
Sorry. If you subscribe to my channel, look for Rebecca and Jeff's wedding. It's in 5 parts. And it also contains in one of the playlists in Understanding My Autism. They may be unlisted, but if you look if you look in there, there's plenty of videos of all the social gatherings they used to be part of.
Okay, thank you, Guy. I still don't see, like, some people have weddings with alcohol, receptions with alcohol, open bar, whatever. But I think in a normal person, at a normal wedding where people have been raised in a normal life without under the tight control of, perform and conform and perform a cult, they know intuitively how to be. I mean, I'm not saying something might not get out of hand, but generally, all the weddings I've been to, even when they're loud and laughing, things are seem pretty okay. Whereas witnesses, it's like Susan said, it's almost like they don't know how to act. They don't have those social skills. Go ahead.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Being autistic myself.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please. Thank you, guys. Yeah, let the sister speak, please. Just one moment. Go ahead, sister. Thank you.
Ellen from Southern California.
And
hi. Years ago, when my niece got married in the Kingdom Hall, she asked me to be a bridesmaid, but came back later and said because I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, I couldn't be in her wedding because I had left years before. So that's fine. Then at the wedding, during the wedding talk, the idiot giving the talk said, and remember, any time that you two have an argument, your husband will always be right.
oh my God.
I was so freaking mad, you wouldn't believe it. And I made a big deal to my niece and my sister and them. I couldn't believe someone would say that in this day and age. And that guy, I think he apologized, not to me, but that he shouldn't have said that he misspoke.
Wow, that is off the hook. Seriously, off the hook.
Yeah. So
thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything you wanted to add before the brother that is waiting comments? Anything you wanted to add, dear?
After that is, I heard that he apologized for that remark because I was going to get up and walk out. I was so angry.
I don't blame you.
I don't like that attitude anyways. And to say something like that out loud just blew me away. But I made a big deal out of it, and I guess he apologized. Like I said, I wasn't there after, I don't live in that area, but he apologized for saying that. So.
Well, I'm glad he did.
He only said what he was really thinking.
Right. But he was a buffoon for saying it.
Yeah,
thank you, sister, so much for your comment. Thank you. The brother that has been waiting, are you still there, dear?
Yes, I am, Anne Marie. I have two quick, real quick stories. I had to postpone my baptism because I told the brother that I was going to be the best man at my best friend's wedding. And that was after the baptism. He said, "Oh, no, you can't get baptized." He said, if you get baptized and you go to the wedding, you'll be disfellowshipped. So that's wacky JW stuff. But the other story I want to tell, I think is kind of humorous. I can remember being at the Kingdom Hall, and my former wife and an elder and his wife, we were sitting, together. And this sister was getting married, and she wanted to get married in the wedding gown of her mother's, which I thought was a really nice tradition. The only problem is for the witnesses, not a problem for me. The only problem for the Jehovah's Witnesses was the bride was a well-endowed woman, which the mother was not. So there was a lot more hanging out than than Jehovah's Witnesses they used to sing at the Kingdom Hall. And they were there looking at that sister with their mouth hanging open like they never saw a set of boobies in their life. It's just unbelievable. And they talked about that. Did you see that dress? Did you see how much cleavage she was showing? It's like that was the biggest part of the ceremony. They talked about that for weeks and months. I heard about it forever, about the neckline of that dress. So that's my two little stories on JW stuff. It's Connie.
Well, dude, thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to add, if you were aware of the gossip about that poor girl having a body that God gave her, can you imagine what they were saying behind closed doors to her poor husband? Like, the remarks that were made to him about his wife? That's a sad shame.
I think he was a ministerial servant, and I'm sure he was called into the back. I don't know this because nobody ever told me, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was called in the back room with it. Well, your wife showed a little bit too much cleavage than she should have, and we're going to just give you a warning, but don't let that happen again. I'm sure that was in the mix.
Well, I'm sure you're right. But I was thinking more of, behind everybody's back in private, chiding him like, wow, I bet you're glad you got a pair of those to play with as much as you want. That kind of talk. How they act all pious and pure, but when it comes to sex or sexual things or beautiful bodies or sexual parts of somebody's body, the Watchtowerites can just be so immature, really immature.
Well, you're right. And yeah.
Did you want to add anything, Dick?
No, I guess that'll be it. I was going to say something, but it's probably a little too much.
No, why not?
I
think we can handle it. I think we can handle it. We've grown up a lot since we woke up.
Yeah, well, handling those things that we talked about is something that I have a hands-off policy about right now.
All righty, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Did somebody else want to say something? I thought I heard somebody waiting.
Hello, Anne-Marie.
Hi, Constance.
Hi, honey. I was just going to tell you, when you had, you and Susan had mentioned earlier that the witnesses do not have any social skills. I'd like to explain a situation that happened to me when I was in a sister's wedding. And let's see, I guess I was 21 at the time and she was 20. And anyway, we were very close in high school. And she, asked me to be in her wedding. And so I was part of the bridal party. It was very nice. And so when the time came, they got married in the Kingdom Hall and everything. And anyway, when the time came at the reception, the bride and groom get out there and they have their dance. And then the rest of the wedding party comes in. Well, there were like three of us. There were three of us bridesmaids, and then three of the groomsmen, whatever they call them, the best man and the guys. And anyway, what ended up happening is all the guys got out there with the bridesmaid, and I'm standing there waiting for, my partner to come out so that we could go dancing. And you couldn't miss us because we all were all dressed up in our gowns. And so I thought, oh my gosh, where in the heck is this brother? So I go find him, and it's like he's trying to hide from me, And I said, I didn't even know the brother's name. I said, brother, come on, you want to get out there and dance. It's everyone's turn to dance. It's part of the wedding party. And this is no joke, Anne-Marie. He said to me, oh, I'm sorry, I can't dance with you because I'm a married brother. And I said, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. And so I was standing there like a duke-off, and then, an elder and his wife were right behind me, and his name happened to be Joe, and he was a brother in my congregation, and he wanted to know what was going on. And I said, Joe, he won't dance with me because he's a married brother. And Joe said, oh, don't worry about it. He said, I'll dance with you. but it was such an embarrassing situation to be placed in. And, you know, that's the mentality of some of the witnesses, certainly not all of them. But, you know, God forbid you're a single sister and there's a brother who's married. I mean, it's just a dance. That's all it is. And yet, you know, he, for some reason, it would have been nice if he would have told me that before we were all supposed to get out there. So that's the, you know, that's the behavior of JWs when it comes to social norms. They just don't have it. They're not polished at all. They have all these stupid, crazy, ridiculous rules and regulations. And some of them are so asinine, and they're just, you know, total ignorance is what it is. So thank you, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, I appreciate your sharing that. To me, it's indicative of the level of immaturity of so many of the young brothers and sisters too, but young brothers, that just sounds so insanely immature. I know 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds that are young boys at a wedding, and they even know better. They know that when you're part of the wedding party, you dance with your partner at the wedding party. You're raised that way. You know better. You're taught how to behave. It's called social mores, decorum. That has nothing to do with who's married and who's single. My goodness. It's a dance in public. You're not going to be rubbing yourself on or anything. What in the heck? It almost sounds like he was a scared to death little 10-year-old who didn't know how to do anything without direction. That's a shame. That must have been awful for you, Constance.
Well, it was. It was so humiliating. And, you know, that side of the family, Holly's husband, they were all born and raised in. So, you know, I was not born and raised in. I was a convert. But, you know, the social skills, oh, my word, honey. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it was a very humiliating experience for me. Yeah, it really was. So thank you, Anne-Marie.
Well, thank you so much, Constance. I really think that the Watchtower weddings and receptions, as far as a social ceremony, gathering, and celebration, that everyone of whatever culture would understand is an important occasion. That is the one glaring way that it stands out just how immature and idiotic these people can be in any given situation. It's ridiculous. Does anybody else have anything to share? We're starting to run a little short on time. Anybody want to share anything? Go ahead. Hi, Chewy.
Yeah, on my wedding, we had two bridesmaids and I had a best man and then two beside him. And I don't think it was a Watchtower deal, but my wife heard somebody say that, and she just took it and ran with it. That if you are not married, you couldn't walk down the aisle together. And so we wound up being the only ones being able to walk down the aisle. Besides my wife's maid of honor and my best man, they were married. They were my best friends. But the other two that I had selected, they just said, you know, my wife said, yeah, so-and-so said this. So, you know, one of the elders said that in Spanish. And so we can't do that. And I said, I don't know. I want to get some verification on that. And I called an elder in English. He said, yeah, I wouldn't do it. He said, he didn't say that the Watchtower said. He said, I wouldn't do it. And so I just kind of dropped it and let them do what they wanted to do, you know. So I wasn't even able to have all the people I was wanting my two other best friends, you know, that I grew up with. Couldn't do it. Because they couldn't walk down the aisle with another single sister. You know, it's stupid.
Well, I thought that Constance's relation of that brother being so immature, thinking it was wrong to dance with her when he was her partner in the wedding, was the top of ridiculousness. But I have to say what you just said, Chewy, that I'm aghast right now. I literally cannot think of how to express how absolutely beyond stupid that was. Stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about Watchtower ridiculousness. Go ahead.
Well, there was a brother here years ago. He was a time actually he actually went apostate. I never did talk with him after he went apostate. I never had any kind of communication with him. But he would make up his own rules. One time he said you could. He was supposed to be anointed. He was in his 40s. He made up his own rules and all that and this and that. Anyway, he said the only way that you can dance at a party is if you're married. That's the only way.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I know. That's a bunch of sports crap, isn't it?
It's beyond. They put the R in ridiculous.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Rick, how are we doing on time?
Well, Anne Marie, why don't you take it for about another 10 minutes? I'll come in when I tell you. But say another 10 minutes or so. We have a lot of people still calling in. So go ahead, stay on another 10 minutes or so, okay?
Okay, thank you, my brother. Chewy, is there anything you wanted to add? Have you heard any other stories or had any other experiences? Well, I guess Chewy has left the building. Anybody out there still haven't had a chance to comment, want to share their experience or something they had heard? No? Well, one of the sad for me seeing a wedding at the Kingdom Hall, it just broke my heart. There was a sister in the 80s who was just drop dead gorgeous. If you guys are old enough to remember the style, both for women and for men, I mean, it was awesome. And this girl in the 80s looked like a model out of Vogue magazine. She was beautiful, beautiful bone structure, and she had class. This girl really knew what class was all about. She wasn't showy, but she just knew how to dress. And she looked like literally a model out of Vogue wedding catalog or something. And I'll never forget her wanting to get married, but she couldn't have the bridesmaids for whatever reason. There was no aisle to go up. There were only 2 aisles one on either side of the Kingdom Hall. And at least when you had portable chairs, they would always move the chairs so that the bride and the bridesmaids and the groomsmen could walk down the middle of the Kingdom Hall, but not these ones that have, bolted in chairs. So this poor girl was marrying a brother who, to me, wasn't that bright. He didn't talk much, and he was a piano mover. He just didn't seem like somebody you could have much of an intelligent conversation with. I'm sure he was smart, but this girl was super smart, super beautiful. She looked like she belonged in a high-fashion modeling agency in Manhattan. And it broke my heart because here is the music playing on the stage, and she wanted to have the feel of walking up the aisle. And I'm looking out the back door, and she's standing in this beautiful, classy dress. It was kind of like a wedding suit, but it was kind of long. It wasn't like a train, like a typical bride dress with a train, but it was classy like a suit. She had a nice little cap, like an old-fashioned kind of cap that stewardesses would wear, but it was made out of satin and pearls and a little lace veil and this beautiful suit. And she's standing on the stairs at the bottom stair in the parking lot, with her beautiful bouquet. And I just thought, this is so wrong. This is so wrong that if she hadn't been in the Watchtower, she would have had a beautiful ceremony, beautifully done, even if it had to be in somebody's backyard, because she looked so out of place with the cars and her part of her dress standing in the parking lot. And marrying the guy she was marrying, and he didn't even know how to dress. And here she's wearing this beautiful, classy outfit. Anyway, anybody have anything to share? I just always felt bothered about that. Anybody have any comment about how witness weddings are to them, their experiences, how they differ from normal weddings, normal receptions? Star 6, anyone want to comment?
Anne-Marie?
Yeah, hi, Susan.
Rick and I heard this phrase today, and it sounded so apropos. And this subject shows it to the hilt. It says, the Watchtower creates or is creating a master race of janitors and window washers. I laughed that hard when I heard it.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my God, that is so true. That is so sadly true. Oh my goodness. Where'd you all hear that?
Fritz Springmeyer, he's coming on later tonight, but he used that phrase, and we both said, can we write that down? Because that is just perfect.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that is so, so sad. Oh my God, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I just remember all of these brothers. You're only allowed to be a gardener, a landscaper, a window washer, or a janitor. Oh, okay, well, I guess carpet cleaning's okay. It would have to be some humiliating, hard labor job. You know, you couldn't even really be a garbage man. You know why? Because they worked all these crazy hours and they made too much money. That's what I heard. And it's just...
You have these shop sisters, and they've married a brother, and the brother, of course, education, you know, they don't want higher education, so they have low-end jobs, and that's fine if you want to be a window washer or a janitor, but it seems that the Kingdom Halls happen to have an abundance of them. And so they don't go beyond, they don't want to strive to be more, to strive ahead. And that shows up in their wedding ceremonies.
That is just
all through.
Yeah. That is such a shame. But it's not everywhere. I remember when my brother got married in the Kingdom Hall, the girl he married, she had a beautiful wedding dress. And, you know, they had a really nice reception. It was all pretty nicely done. But then again, the bride, the girl he married, my brother's the one he married, she came into the organization as an adult. And nobody, my brother's the one he married, she came into the organization.
Does someone have their microphone, the telephone, and YouTube on? No?
Yeah, I love that delay. I went, who's talking? Uh-oh, it's me. But I noticed, I just now thought of it, there was a difference. This girl was not raised in the organization, and none of her family was in the organization. She had flower girls and the ring bearer and the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, and everything was very nicely done. It was all organized. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's the only Jehovah's Witness wedding that I remember ever being a part of, that I was at, that didn't seem like they didn't know what they were doing or how to behave. And then I just realized, oh, none of her family was, you know, raised in the Watchtower, and she wasn't raised in the Watchtower. So she knew what she was doing. Wow. I'm sorry, Susan, did you have anything further to add? I love your comments.
No, I think that said it all, Anne-Marie.
Hello, yeah, kind of did. Yeah, go ahead, dear.
Well, I don't want to. So I have to say, I don't think people that just because somebody's a Jehovah's Witness doesn't mean they're stupid. That's all I'm gonna say.
Now, Mike, did anybody even infer that or hint that? We are simply relating our experiences.
So no, you're implying that they're ignorant people, and I'm not going to argue with you. That's the implication. I'm not going to argue. I'm just making a comment.
Okay. Well, I do have social graces, and I'm going to bring something to the party right now.
Go ahead, Pixie. Thank you, Mike. Don't go away, Mike.
Something very wonderful on YouTube for free for everyone, and tell your friends. An ex-brother named Everett is quite the musician. He's written what would be the opera I would dream of writing, and it's called Let Me Speak Now. So if you go on YouTube and you key in Let Me Speak Now, you'll see this very elegant black brother. He's got an album cover, and the whole album is on YouTube. and it's about everything that happened to him when he walked out. And it's class musicianship, and the lyrics, it's like, wow, that's everything I felt and more, and probably everything everyone else feels and more. It's called Let Me Sleep Now.
Thank you so much, Pixie. I'm sorry, Mike, did you have anything to add? We're just about out of time. Did you have anything to add to that, Mike? Did you ever go to a witness wedding or get married yourself?
Yeah, I went up to a few weddings. I didn't particularly like going and stuff like that, but I will say this: I know some witnesses that had plenty of money. I mean, I can tell you this: I know there's where I haven't been to the meeting in years, but there's a couple of brothers that lived in this area that are very wealthy. So to say that they're all window washers, that's not. I mean, I know there's some that do that. Well, I guess some make money do make good money doing that. You know, the implication that they're all simple-minded people, I just don't think that's totally fair. I mean, I get it. You all hate, you know, I get it. You want to attack, but I feel like people do that. It's a self-justification when you attack to try to justify yourself, like that you're better than them. You know, you should, you know, that I understand that, but that's what this all is. I mean, some of the things you're saying are true, but, you know, at some point, could you get over it, you know?
Mike, somebody needs to spank you bad. You are off the hook. You accused us of saying things that aren't true when we're relating our own experiences, that we're picking on the witnesses, that we're saying things that aren't true. Honey, this is not true. Don't, you know, if you have judgment, I totally respect that. You have good opinions. I love your comments. But when you make a judgment towards somebody else and then don't let them say, no, you're wrong, and then you go, oh, I accept that or I get that. But we're not preaching any kind of hate or any kind of criticism. It just is. I know what I experienced.
No, serious. I'm sorry. You don't hate you don't hate the Watchtower. I like you don't hate them? Oh, come on.
I am not a hate. You get excited. I know you get excited, and I don't know why you're so defensive for the Watchtower, but I respect it. But no, I don't hate anybody. I hate what they've done, you know, behaviors, but I don't hate them. But, well, you know,
they're a satanic cult. I mean, I hate Satanists. I mean, so if they're a satanic cult, why wouldn't you hate them?
Mike, you feel the way you feel, and I'm going to feel the way I feel. I just am asking you not to judge others according to your assessment and your judgment.
I'm just thinking, well,
okay, I'm not going to argue.
Well, you know, yeah, it's your program. I mean, it's just, you know, it's something. Well, I guess I have to question your own. I mean, to be honest with you, maybe you're not that smart. You went to the satanic cult for, I don't know, as an adult. I mean, you didn't. How many years did it take you to figure out they're a bunch of evil people? I mean, you know.
Are you going to let me respond to what you just asked? I think that you brought up a very valid point, as you often do, because you're a pretty bright person. One, I am actually quite smart, quite intelligent, and I absolutely believe the Watchtower 100%. Never doubted them. Never doubted them. And guess what? You asked me how long it took me to figure out. I never did. I left that cult, and for almost 14 years after I left, Mike, do you know that I was so indoctrinated, Mike, that I continued to do incidental witnessing, even placing literature? Almost 14 years after I left the Watchtower.
Right.
I had to start doing.
Right. I know. I didn't mean to. Well, that's my whole point. What I was trying to bring out is, just because somebody believes in a religion that might not be true, it doesn't mean the person is stupid. I mean, when it comes to religion, sad to say, a lot of people don't put much thought into a religion if that's what they're raised in. I understand that.
You're right.
So that's my point. It's not right to attack somebody for what they believe.
Okay, Mike, I would like to finish so I can address what you just said. That's the whole point. And I was trying to comment on what you just said. Just because, like you said, somebody believes something doesn't mean they're stupid. Of course, that was what I was trying to say. I am not stupid, but yet I did believe. This is the whole thing about the difference between a religion and a cult. A cult, if they're really successful, knows how to use mind control tools. And it is, believe it or not, the most intelligent who are most likely to get snared. Because just like Eve in the garden, when the snake said in that very reasonable tone, is it really so that God has said you must not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad? And she didn't feel threatened. She fell for it just like that. My mother is a bona fide genius. My mother. And she fell for it. She's still a dedicated, hardcore Nazi JW. You think you can tell her anything? And she's not stupid. So the very, very smart people and those who are very emotionally vulnerable are the ones that are the easiest to snare in any kind of cult. So I'm really glad you brought that out. Like you said, just because you believe something doesn't mean you're stupid. And I thank you for bringing that up, Mike.
So you think your mother's a Nazi?
Neil, I did not say that, Mike. No. I said that my mom is a hardcore Nazi Jehovah's Witness. What I mean is, Mike, how it was in the Third Reich during the Nazi regime. In those days, it was all about the party, and they were so many of the followers who believed in the regime. They were so hardcore, and they were reporting on their own mother and father, on their own grandparents, turning on each other. The Watchtower, a lot of them, modeled how they treated the rank and file after that. And all you have to do to find out that is true is read the book 30 Years a Watchtower Slave. It is written by a henchman of Rutherford's who was sent into Germany to basically practice different techniques on the brothers in Germany. And he brought back the results, and they have been implemented since Rutherford. And that's why the religion is the way it is now. So hardcore and regimented. That's why so many of the songs are like marching songs. But when I say a Nazi Jehovah's Witness, I mean absolute, if you say one little thing, it's all about the party, loyalty to the party. And if you say a word against the party, you're the enemy. That's what I mean when I say a Nazi Jehovah's Witness.
Well, when someone uses the term, you use the term Nazi, you use that term to show how evil and heinous it is.
Well, Anne-Marie, this is Rick, Anne-Marie. We're gonna have to get on to JW World News, but I just want to step in here for a second. I just want to step in here and see, first of all, Mike has never been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. He's a single man.
I appreciate that you don't speak for me. You say that you're speaking. You don't know anything about my life, Rick.
You're so eager to come on here, and Mike, I'm not gonna even go into it. I made a promise to people. They don't want you on here. People do not want you on here.
I know.
So we're gonna let you go, Mike.
That's strange. No, that's strange, Rick. You don't like me. Well, the people at the kingdom, they don't like me either. I guess I'm out in left field.
Well, the point I'm making is you cannot come on here without trying to cause an argument or a fight. And I'm not going to put up with it. If you can come on and be gentle and kind and talk to Anne-Marie, she's a kind, loving person. She's been hurt by the Watchtower, Mike. She ought to be able to speak up without having a person.
Okay. Well,
knock it off. Listen, you just keep it up. I'm going to ban you. You won't be able to come in, okay? So just knock it off. All right? We're not going to get into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Well, she calls her mother a Nazi.
Just leave the people alone. Well, why do you want to cause arguments with people? That's what I don't understand. Why do you want to do that? Well, what, do you get a kick out of this or what? Do you really get a kick out of making people upset with you? I think you find your jollies. You get your jollies off on this. So why don't we?
I got nothing else to do, Rick. So I'm a bum.
Well, that's
okay? I got nothing else to
okay.
do,
Well,
so-
just let it go with that. I don't mind you.
Okay.
I don't mind you coming on if
Okay.
you can be decent and talk nice to
Okay.
people. You always come in trying to dig below the belt, hit people below the belt. Be nice to people. You got intelligence. Intelligent people don't do that. Intelligent people don't argue like you do. Jeez, I'm gonna go back and shoot you. The prince. Okay, let it go with that. We got to move on to the news. Okay, let it go with that. Well, Anne-Marie, thank you very much, Anne-Marie. I really appreciate you doing your program today.
Thank you, brother.
All righty. Keep waving
Thank
that flag. I always enjoy you having the program. Now, I'm going to just mention a couple of things while we're still here on the tail end of Anne-Marie's program. You don't want to miss tonight at 9:30. I've been bringing this up. We have a man coming on. His name is Fritz Springmeier. Many of you have heard the name. He's a prolific writer. He's written numerous books, I think 14, 15 books at least. One of his more famous or popular books is it's called well, let me just get the name. I'm sorry. The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And that's the book. I have the book. He's coming on tonight. He's going to be talking about the Watchtower. Now, you have to listen to this. If you even want to leave now and don't listen to the news here, that's fine with me. That you don't want to miss Fritz Springmeier at 9:30. He's going to be telling the audience tonight things they have never heard before. He told me some things I never heard before. He mentioned to me, I spent the last couple of days talking with him and putting this program together. He told me that there's some things that he wanted to share with the audience. He knows what's going on right now with the Watchtower, with them selling all the real estate off, with them trying to grab as much money as they can. He's going to talk tonight about how the Watchtower is deliberately trying to go out of business. They're downsizing deliberately. And that's the answer. That gives the answer to why we have the governing body acting like they are, why they're coming out with stupid statements. They don't want to get any bigger. They want to get smaller. He's going to talk about it tonight. You are going to be fascinated. All right, so Fritz will be on at 9:30. We're going to end this program here. We're going to start JW World News. And Mike, I don't want to have to be mad at you. You're a good man. But please be nice when you come on. Be nice to people. All right, we're going to end the program right here. And we're going to do